Hi, I'm so happy to be here today and the guest that I have. My name is Leslie Russell, and I'm the founder and president of Next Generation Ministries Independent Learning Academy, and I'm really super excited about our guest today. They are going just to help really give the understanding and the perspective of what it is to be educating your children one way for them, which was more of a traditional educational setting, and then moving over into homeschooling with Independent Learning Academy. And this is something that everybody can glean wisdom from, whether your children at ILA or looking to come to ILA, or even if you're like looking for yourself just to move from a traditional model of education into a more homeschooling hybrid model of education. So I'm really looking forward to introducing you to our guests. And so today we have Carl and Janine Heth, and they are so involved in the community, and I just kind of want to share a little bit about their background. So Carl is the immediate past president of the Laguna Hills Chamber of Commerce, and Janine is the former mayor of Laguna Hills, current mayor pro tem and president of the Association of California Cities of Orange County, and the vice chair of the toll roads. So they both are so involved in the community, and just really appreciate them and appreciate their family here at ILA as well. So welcome. Thank you for being here
Great
today.
being here.
So I just would like to maybe start with like, how did you get here? So like, what was kind of like your story with your children? You have a high school son and elementary age daughter, and like transitioning from a public school setting, all of a sudden now you're homeschooling, and you're also, you have your company that you run, and you're also very involved in the city. And so how, you know, your experience in coming over and doing that, and how you're able to still do those things, and how ILA has been able to make that possible for you. That would be great.
Yeah, I would say that it really started with COVID and starting to see the way that our kids had to learn, and they weren't able to be in an in-person learning setting anymore, and they were both at home, you know, all day long with their computers, and just the closeness of the human touch kind of element was lost. And we saw this, you know, for over a year. And when we found out about Independent Learning Academy and the fact that you have teachers in the classroom with the kids, it was like, oh my gosh, what an incredible concept that we had been really missing ever since, you know, things started shutting down around the beginning of 2020.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, go ahead, Carl. What about for you?
Well, I think that ILA is like the perfect blend of the best of both worlds of homeschooling, where you have a lot of parents' involvement, and also the parents' values and principles get reflected in that, but also the best of private school, where you have, you know, very versed teachers who can really elevate the level of learning for the kids, and give them, you know, a very broad-based education. So I think it's kind of like the best of both worlds. And so when we learned more about ILA, we knew that this would be our home.
And the teachers are top-notch here.
Yeah.
I can't say enough good things about them.
What do you see just regarding like the difference between like maybe, and I know all teachers are so dedicated and they want to be there for their children and everything, but just maybe in this model of education, being able to have more latitude and being able to bring in more creativity. What has been like your experience? Like, why do you see that difference?
Well, I think it just comes down to the fact that these teachers are really dedicated to the kids, and they try to make learning, and I can't say that in a public school setting you're going to have the teachers that can't wait to retire and they're just kind of waiting out the years, you know, to get their pension, and you've got the fresh ones coming in, so you're going to have a mix. But what I've noticed with Independent Learning Academy is that the teachers, they want to be here. They want to be here. They're excited about teaching the kids. They're looking for innovative and creative ways to teach the kids. My son is in a world history and world literature course taught by the same teacher, and she really strives to make it fun and exciting. When they learn about a certain culture, she'll bring in food from that culture. You know, she engages them to really learn, look at different worldviews, and you know, I think it's just really a cut above what you would get through a public education.
Okay, that's great. What about you, Carl?
Well, I think that the best part of it is the freedom that parents have to actually select the classes in more of a university model,
Yes.
where in the old days when we were still in public education, basically we would find out, some couple weeks before beginning of school, what class you'd be in, what your hours are, what classes you're in, and outside of a handful of electives, you really had no control over it. It was just a one size fits all. And so imagine our surprise when we didn't know this was possible, that in an elementary all the way to high school, you could select your own classes and select the classes that we know would be beneficial but also interesting to our kids, and we can almost custom build their education, which is really revolutionary for something that is pre-college, because we always had that freedom in college. Well, we never did have that for elementary, K through 12. So that's fantastic.
And to actually piggyback on that, one thing that I've really enjoyed about ILA is the fact that if you want more than one elective or two, you can have 3, 4, 5, whatever. If your child is interested in cooking, if they're interested in, sewing, drama, music, so many different ways for them to be creative beyond just their core subjects. And it's great because I know in public school you're limited to 2 electives, and you would love to do more things. And so I think the opportunity here is really
and the amazing
fantastic.
choice, the variety of choices, from aviation to
science,
working with metals in a shop,
STEM,
to everything, British literature and C.S. Lewis. I mean, to Model UN, essentially, to all these different things that are not available in your regular, even the best regular high schools do not have such a wide choice of electives, and that really helps the kids themselves by they can try each elective each year and see what they're interested in. That actually helps them eventually decide what they want their major to be and what they want to study. So I think this is a laboratory where the kids have the freedom to experiment and to take a wide variety of interest and see what their God-given talents are.
Yeah, and each child is different. We have a physical DNA, but obviously we have a spiritual DNA, like that God created us for a specific purpose. And so I think all children should be able to, at a young age, be mentored and to walk into that identity of who God created them to be, and the blessing that is. And I always say the parent is a salt, like that they get to pick and choose. So, what have you seen, just kind of speaking, like just broadly, your difference from, public school setting into more of homeschooling? What have you seen, the difference with your children in coming in from a traditional setting into a more hybrid homeschooling setting? So for like those who are watching, and I know this is, going to be seen here in California, but across the country. So if parents are going to be watching it and trying to decide, what do I want to be doing? Like right now, my kids are in a traditional setting and I want to be doing something different with them. What would you say that you've seen in your own children, the difference in coming from where they were to where they are now?
Well, my son, he's really, really enjoyed his time at ILA. He actually wants to do his Eagle Scout project and do something to benefit ILA. He loves the way that, there's so much flexibility, lots of different extracurricular activities like the dances and, some of the things that he feels like are just so much better than what was offered in the public school system.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I'm so happy to hear that. I'm glad that he's so happy, and that's awesome. I'd love to talk to him.
And it's also the sense of community you have, because in some cases, some people have a fear that if they homeschool their children, that there's a certain isolation, especially if you're not blessed to have neighbors and whatnot or people close by. And so that there is a socialization, gap that will happen as a result of that. And so with ILA, you have this, again, the best of both worlds, where you do have the experience of an elementary, middle, high school. You have the memories, you have your friends, but in addition, the parents are still basically, have a good understanding of what's going on, as opposed to regular schools where you just drop off your kids, you really don't know what's going on. And I think through the whole COVID situation, parents suddenly found out what actually was being taught in schools, because for the first time we were allowed in the classroom, albeit virtually,
right.
And a lot of us didn't necessarily like what we saw in some issues, and so to have the ability to have a strong oversight of what's happening, but still have a qualified group of teachers who's doing the work that most of us parents cannot do. Like there's a certain level where you can no longer teach, where there's a certain technical knowledge, say in chemistry or biology, that we simply don't have that background. And we want our kids to thrive. We want them to be ready if they want to go to college or to a technical school. So to have that very experienced group of teachers, but still having that feeling of accountability that we had when we were, on the homeschooling side, or the virtual academy as they called it. I think it's, again, the best of both worlds.
That's so great. That's so great. So what would you say for those parents who are trying to decide if this is something that they want to be stepping into? Did you kind of have a way that you kind of took that step and just did it? Was it an adjustment for you at home? Kind of speak to that.
It's definitely been an adjustment. You are definitely going to be directly more involved in your child's activities. I think that what ILA offers, though, just the quality is so good. You see, and I'll tell you something. I've looked through some textbooks in the public school system, and I was very concerned about some of the things I read. Some things were just very unfamily friendly, and just didn't line up with my values as a Christian. And I don't ever have to worry about that here. I look at the history books and the literature and the different types of curriculum that's being offered, and I know that I'm never going to have to sift through it and think, okay, I have to protect my kids against this.
Right, yeah, amen. And that is so important. So thank you for sharing that. What about you, Carl?
Well, I think that the greatest blessing for us was that we don't fit your traditional type of homeschoolers, because we both work, we own our company. My wife is in public office. I've run, several organizations myself. And so we don't have either the background, neither of us were homeschooled, nor did we have any relatives who did. We were all either public or private school. And so we wouldn't have the bandwidth and the time to be able to be, your traditional homeschoolers. But the alternative, of course, was the current system. And so when we found out about ILA, that's been a real blessing, because it allows us as parents who are very busy, who most of us work, and we don't have necessarily grandparents living with us, that would be able to help. ILA essentially is stepping in that gap and allowing us to still direct the education of our children according to our values and our faith, but at the same time they do the heavy lifting. And they really put in a strong platform that allows us to do this, because otherwise we would not be able to really to homeschool in any way or form. But through this system, we have the ability to direct our children's education, but at the same time to have a dedicated group of professionals who say, don't worry, we got this for you. So for all the parents out there who are concerned, saying, I may want to step out of the public school system, a private school is insanely expensive. We could have probably run both of our college educations when we grew up, in one private high school. And so the ability to have this kind of hybrid, a lot of parents who are sitting on the fence and are wondering, can we do this? You can. We can do it, and believe me, we are busy. We have 25 hours a day of activities and events that we have to attend to, yet they make it actually look easy.
Yeah, and here in California,
great.
that you have the heavy hand of the state, and there are just a lot of parents that are concerned about the way education is going, like I mentioned before, and the restrictions, and what might be handed down in a mandatory fashion. And so ILA gives you that freedom to be able to make sure your kids are educated the way they want without the restrictions. And it's a breath of fresh air, Leslie. It really is.
I'm so glad. Oh, wow. Well, it's been so nice having you both here today. And I know that this is going to bless a lot of people. There's nothing like, hearing from someone who's like walked through it. So thank you so much. And I hope that blesses you, those of you who are just deciding or trying to figure out how you want to be educating your children. But it is a new day in education. We've been doing this 10 years and pioneering it, and we're excited about all that's coming next, and just love how the whole country, there's so many movements out there and just really changing education and giving parents options, because your children are like the most important gift that you have. And so you, the parent, you should be able to decide where they go to school, who their teacher is, what they're going to be learning, because I always say the parent is the salt in that relationship, and that children are a gift from God, and He has put you in that place, in that relationship with your children. So we love the fact that we can come alongside and help you in that education of your children, and all the other programs that are also out there in the state, in this country, who are doing the same thing. So we're excited about what's going on, and just thank you so much. This is awesome.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. It's been wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you.